Things like this usually don't happen in a community like ours. It's very tragic.
Investigators release autopsy reports today for 8 members of an Ohio family killed execution style.
We begin tonight with a deadline that has passed for the mother of 2 missing children from Rexburg.
Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda and we talk about all things true crime related. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the case of Leslie Prieur. Her killer was just recently sentenced and I wanted to talk about it. But before we dive in, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Leslie Jennings was born to William and Marion Jennings on October 5th, 1951 in Quinset Point, Rhode Island. In 1963, her family settled in Pensacola, Florida, where she grew up in a busy household as one of 7 children. She attended Pensacola High School, graduating in 1969, and she later went on to Florida State University, where she graduated in 1973. That same year, she would meet Carl Sandy Prieur, and the two would marry a year later before they would move to Maryland to start their life together. After her passing, her family would say that they will cherish her memory of sensitivity and kindness. Her daughter Lauren also shared she wants her mother to be remembered for the bright spirit she was and the welcoming person that everyone close to her knew her to be. Lauren said, quote, "We have an angel watching over us. She was the best. You're the best mom in the world, and I would do anything to have one more day with you." End quote. Now, this case takes us back to May 2nd, 2001 in Chevy Chase, Maryland. That morning, Leslie's boss would call her husband Sandy to let him know that Leslie hadn't made it to work that day. Concerned, Sandy and her boss decided to meet at her house to check on her. The moment they entered, they knew something was terribly wrong. There was blood on the first floor, smeared on the walls, a puddle of water on the ground, and a corner table had been knocked over. Despite searching, though, there was no sign of Leslie. Because of the disturbing condition of the home, they called 911. Records show that Montgomery County police officers were dispatched at 11:47 a.m. While still on the phone with emergency services, the men were advised to leave the house and wait outside for officers. Once they arrived, they searched the home, including upstairs, where they made a heartbreaking discovery. Leslie was found partially inside the shower stall, lying face down. She had lacerations to her head, deep bruising around her neck, and additional bruises to her arms and torso. At just 49 years old, she was pronounced dead at the scene. Her daughter Lauren was only 24 years old when she lost her mother. Leslie's death was ruled a homicide caused by multiple blunt force injuries and strangulation. After her body was found, detectives collected evidence throughout the home. DNA belonging to an assailant was discovered in several areas, including underneath Leslie's fingernails, showing that she fought back. As with most cases, investigators started by speaking with Leslie's family and associates, collecting names of possible suspects. And of course, the first person that they looked at was her husband, Sandy. He provided a DNA sample and was quickly cleared. But even with that, suspicion lingered in the community as many people weren't convinced. Lauren, however, she said she knew in her heart that her father did not kill her mother. She said at the time that she actually believed a neighbor may have been responsible. Still, every person that police tested DNA against was found to have no match. News reports from June of 2001 noted that Leslie was the 5th homicide victim in Montgomery County since August of 1999. None of those cases had been solved at the time, and there were no suspects identified in Leslie's murder. A task force was eventually formed to look at those unsolved cases. Police said that they did not believe the murders were connected, but they hoped that pulling resources together would help them make progress. Unfortunately, though, for Leslie's case at least, the efforts did not bring any answers.
21 years later, she says this loss still hurts.
It was unreal. I mean, it was just, she was my best friend. And I think about her and I dream about her all the time, the way she was, and she was such a wonderful mother, and that's how I remember her.
Here's some old footage of the home on Drummond Avenue in Chevy Chase. Police say they're still working to construct a timeline of that morning, particularly between 7:45 and 11:45. Police say they don't know if Prieur knew her killer, but the lead investigator tells me she's confident police have never interviewed the murderer in these 21 years of investigating this case. Detective Tara Bayonne says they are in the process of recanvassing, re-interviewing with a fresh set of investigative eyes, and they're hoping that someone who knows something will come forward.
None of the neighbors heard or saw anything that was out of the ordinary that day, and this was a pretty brutal crime scene with a lot of blood, and you would just expect for someone to have seen or heard something.
In September 2022, Maryland made history. For the first time in the state, police were able to use advanced forensic DNA to identify a murder suspect using familial DNA. Essentially, they recreated a family tree. Investigators did obtain a court order that allowed them to conduct genetic genealogy testing, and I think that's really something important to point out, is that they did have to obtain a warrant to be able to do this testing. It's not something that police or at least should be going in and doing willy-nilly. It's more of like a last resort in a lot of states, and they have to obtain a search warrant to do so. In Leslie's case, blood that had been collected back in 2001 was resubmitted to a lab for specialized testing. Then it was submitted to Family Tree DNA Geometric Database, which produced a list of shared DNA matches linking a distant relative from Romania who had submitted her DNA to an online database. It pointed to the surname Gilgor. This name was unfamiliar to detectives at the time, but it turned out to be anything but random. The man they zeroed in on was Eugene Gilgor, someone who had dated Leslie's daughter Lauren back in the 90s. The two had started seeing each other as teenagers and continued dating even after Lauren went away to college. Once investigators had the surname, they began digging deeper into Eugene himself. They soon learned that he would travel through Dulles International Airport on June 9th. Detectives staged a fake secondary screening for when he came into the airport. They set out water bottles for him to drink, and he did, drinking from it, and then he would discard the water bottle before leaving. Police would collect this water bottle and send it for testing. The results confirmed that investigators had been waiting decades to know, and that his DNA matched the evidence found in Leslie's case. With that confirmation, arrest warrants were filed on June 15th, and a few days later, on June 18th, Gilgor was arrested in Washington, D.C., where he had been living, working remotely for a company that specialized in video surveillance systems.
Hands up! What the f is wrong with you?
Hands by your back. Hands by your back. I'm here.
You're not listening. I got one already done.
Yep. What's going on? What is this about?
I got a warrant, bro.
You f listen to us for someone gets hurt, man. That's how shit goes down.
Can you let my girlfriend know that?
Yeah.
We will. Can you tell me what this is about?
Yeah, you have a warrant.
For what?
I don't know. Have you done anything recently?
No.
I don't know.
I'm hot.
You got a warrant, our boss is going to tell you everything about it, okay? That's all.
Okay.
He'll give you a copy of it,
Okay.
and we'll figure out what we're going to do if the magistrate wants to keep you or let you go.
Okay.
So my boss will come here and tell you what the warrant's about.
We learned that Eugene Gilgor had no prior criminal history. In fact, people who knew him described him as a calm, almost zen kind of person and generally friendly. As I mentioned earlier, he wasn't a stranger to the Prieur family. He and Lauren had dated for about 5 years, through high school into college, before they eventually parted ways.
Never in a million years did we think that one of our people could hurt my mom like that.
From all accounts, their breakup was on decent terms with no major drama or lingering issues. Lauren would later tell local news outlets that during the time they dated, Gilgor's parents went through divorce and being at home was difficult for him. Because of that, he would spend a lot of time at her household. She said that throughout their relationship, and really for as long as she had known him, neither she nor their childhood friends ever saw any signs of danger or aggression from him. She even recalled one specific incident where Eugene had been accused of assaulting a woman on a sidewalk near their home. Lauren said she actually went down to the police station and vouched for him, insisting that he would never do something like that. Now, for Lauren, Eugene's arrest brought some unexpected sense of peace. She said that it was comforting to know that her father had finally been vindicated of any suspicion, even if it was after his passing. From my understanding, he passed in 2017. She added now that she feels her father can really finally rest in peace. During a press conference after his arrest, police were asked about a motive. They explained that they had none that Eugene had provided, and it would be ultimately up to him to explain, if he would ever choose to, why he committed this crime. Now, Gilgor was interviewed for roughly 24 minutes with it being recorded. I found a portion that was released by the Washington Standard that I'll play here.
On the crime scene, the DNA that was taken, we actually have a sample of your DNA, and it was compared to the crime scene DNA, and it matched. So we know that you were there at the time when Leslie died.
But I never gave a sample of DNA.
That's correct. We obtained a sample from a discarded water bottle that you drank out of.
I don't know what to say. I have no recollection. I have no memory. I don't know what to say. This is all very bewildering, very strange. I don't want to incriminate myself with questions. You guys are professionals. I'm not. I don't know. I really do think I need an attorney.
Okay, that's fine. We're not going to ask you any more questions. There's no tears coming out of your face.
I'm very dry right now.
You're dry?
I'm very dry. I'm parched. I'm dehydrated. You can probably see my eyes are bloodshot red because I'm just tired and drained. I don't know what's going on. You want me to drink water so I can tear? Like, what the f is wrong with you?
I don't want you to tear. I just don't
What
want
are you trying to say?
I'm just trying to say that this seems a little put on.
In your eyes, it's guilty until proven innocent. I get it.
Well, honey, your DNA was in the crime scene. That's why, like, there's a reason.
There's due process, right? Sure. Due process. So you're saying I'm guilty before I've even been put into a court of law? I don't have any recollection of being involved with any of this.
You keep saying you don't remember and you don't have any recollection.
Well,
but if somebody was not involved, it would be an adamant, I didn't do this.
I didn't do it. I definitely didn't do it. Like,
the only person that knows is Leslie, and she can't tell us.
During that interrogation, he told police that he first learned of Leslie's death through Lauren, saying that he actually ran into her at a restaurant that he was working at, and she told him there her mother had been killed. This would also be mentioned by Lauren. She confirmed that she did run into him after her mother was killed and that he seemed, quote, normal, and he told her that he was so sorry for her mother's passing. Now, following his arrest, more specific details would come to light. Montgomery County authorities confirmed that the DNA found under Leslie's fingernails were directly linked to him. They also indicated that there was actually a tip at some point that was provided decades earlier. It was found in the case files from January 30th, 2002. A former neighbor of the Prieur family told police that Gilgor had once dated Lauren, but the tip lacked specifics and investigators never pursued him as a suspect. In fact, Eugene was never even questioned back then. Another detail that surfaced was his behavior in the days following Leslie's death. When Lauren's friends and family were gathering to support her, Eugene reportedly drove across the country to visit with a friend in Oregon. He didn't tell this friend that he was coming until he was already on his way. There were court records and accounts from those who knew him who said he was mischievous in high school with some history of substance abuse. Like I said before, his parents were divorced while he was in high school while him and Lauren were dating. He reportedly, like I said before, did not take the separation well, and at one point it's reported that he was expelled from boarding school. So originally he pled not guilty. During a hearing in January of 2025, his attorney sought to have his interrogation, some that we saw. They wanted that not to be played at trial, saying that among other reasons that detectives continued to question him after he repeatedly asked for a lawyer. The judge agreed, saying that a good amount of the interview would not be played at his trial. But there wouldn't actually be a trial because in May 2025, Eugene would plead guilty to one count of second-degree murder where he could be sentenced to a max of 30 years. And now that, from my understanding, was because at the time that Leslie died, that was a max sentence for second-degree murder. The prosecutor explained that there was no evidence to suggest that Leslie's murder was premeditated. He also noted that he had spoken with the family prior to agreeing to the plea deal and that they understood the challenges of taking the case to trial and how uncertain it would be to secure a first-degree murder conviction. Sentencing took place just days ago on August 28, 2025. More than 60 people packed the courtroom. Many of Leslie's friends and families were there, although some came to show support for Eugene. Prosecutors pushed for the maximum sentence of 30 years. They emphasized the brutality of the crime, describing how he slammed Leslie's head repeatedly against the foyer floor before strangling her. He then carried her bloody body upstairs and left her in the shower stall before fleeing the home. And for the next 24 years, he was able to move on with his life, evading justice and accountability. Prosecutors also pointed out his efforts to clean up the scene that day, which could have further underscored the cold and calculated nature of his actions. He acted like it was nothing. During sentencing, 6 members of Leslie's family spoke, including her daughter Lauren, who described Eugene as a wolf in sheep's clothing. The family also shared that Leslie's husband, Sandy, had lived under a cloud of suspicion for many years until his death, something that weighed on him for all that time. The defense, on the other hand, asked the court for just 10 years. They argued that Eugene had endured a childhood marked by trauma and substance abuse. His attorney claimed that Leslie's murder followed a night of heavy drinking and cocaine use, suggesting that there's really no clear motive and just called it tragic. She never explained why Eugene was at Leslie's house that night. Several character witnesses also testified on Eugene's behalf, describing him as a kind person, trying to paint a picture of someone very different than the man responsible for Leslie's death. When Eugene was given a chance to speak, he told the court that he didn't remember the murder because he blacked out. Still, he expressed remorse and said that he hoped to be of service to Leslie's daughter in some way. For the second-degree murder, sentencing guidelines recommended between 10 and 18 years, but the judge explained that the severity of this case justified going above the guidelines. At the time, he said he did take into account Eugene's history of mental health struggles, substance abuse, and his more recent commitment to helping others through Alcoholics Anonymous. In the end, though, the judge sentenced him to 30 years with all but 22 years suspended. Once he's released, after 22 years, he would also face 5 years of supervised probation. It's really wild to think that years after such a normal and uneventful breakup, that he could come back into their home and do something this horrific. I truly hope that Lauren and her family members are able to move forward and heal as much as possible, knowing that the killer is finally behind bars and that Sandy is no longer thought of as a suspect. But that's really all I have for the video today. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. They're both free ways that really help me out. Remember, if there's any cases that you'd like me to cover, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you're listening to this on the podcast side, you can also send me a message through the Buzzsprout app, which is the podcasting platform. But until the next video, stay safe out there. The world's an ugly place.